So this is the second video where I'm going to tell you about the chart.js thing. So that's the basic HTML I got created that utilizes both chart.js and the data source you provided, right? So it looks pretty simple. It's only 81 lines of code actually. So let's start from the top section. As far as you can see, I utilized a few CDNs for getting external dependencies like jQuery or Moment.js library or chart.js itself. If you're going to embed this HTML into like in here, basically, in dbflex.net, then I guess you don't need to include jQuery because we already figured out they have it, right? So just check before before decide whether we want to keep this line or not. You can do that by going to the website and type jQuery $sign. If it shows you something like that, then you all set. You already have jQuery. If on the other side it shows something like that, then you're gonna keep that line because that message means you don't have jQuery on this website installed. That's just for an example, right? So let me go back to the code. The actual HTML only contains two elements. So first is canvas, which is used by chart itself, and second one, I just put a button here just to show how you can refresh the chart without reloading the whole page. Okay, the rest of it is basically just JavaScript. So it starts here by defining the chart data option. I basically just copied it from the example located by this link. Initially, it doesn't have any data inside. Actually, it just specifies like a structure. So data and the labels arrays are both blank. What that will do will just render the blank chart without any data in it. And there is a second options variable that I use just to set a few defaults for the chart. So I make it begin at 0 all the time. So that's how we tell it not to use negative numbers by default. And here is where we define the actual chart. What's really nice about chart.js is that you can simply change type of the chart from line to bar, and it will still work. I guess you can use a few other types, but they might have different options set. So yeah, feel free to play around it. I mean, I use chart.js I've used chart.js in a lot of projects, and my current one uses it, so I can totally recommend it. What's next is the refresh chart function. This is where we call jQuery.ajax function. You probably already know about it from the first video. We give it a URL you provided, so it makes a request to get those. Then we parse that with a JSON because that's basically a JSON data. If you remember, in the first video I had like type JSON kind of thing that made it automatically, but the thing most browser work is that they have some restrictions when you make AJAX request to domain other than this page is itself located on. Since I'm running the page from my local host, I'm just opening it as a file. it doesn't work for me like that. So I have to like take out that option and do my parsing manually here. So once parsed, we get a JavaScript object, and that's how we can specify we only need one property of that object, tbflex.net. Next, we're creating two data sets basically. First is data points, and the second one is labels. Both of them are arrays basically. So what's happening here is we're using jQuery map function and giving it a dbflex data array. So what map does, it takes an array as an input parameter and it applies some sort of a transformation on every item of that array. So as a result, you'll get an array of the same size, but with that particular transformation applied on every item. So like in this case, we go through every single item of the dbflex data array and we pull up downtime from that from every single item. So as a result, we'll get an array of downtimes, right? In here, we do pretty much the same, but instead of downtime, we pull up date property, and we do some formatting, right? So just let me show how it looks before mapping. It looks like an array, and every item is basically an object that has date property, downtime, and this manual option here. So when we do first mapping, we'll get an array of the same size, but only of containing these values, right? Taken from every single item from this original array. Let me show you how that looks like. Right. So if you remember, the first one had 81, the second one had 89, and that's the rest of them. So the same kind of thing happens here as in the second line, but instead of getting downtime, we get date, and we use moment.js library to format it in a more human readable way. Then we just assign those two arrays as a parameter to our options of the chart, and we call chart.update function to make it pick up those changes. So to make it work initially, we have to call that function. And here's the rest of the JS, which does which only applies an on-click handler for the button, so that when you perform click event on the button, so basically by clicking it, this function will be called, right? This thing, and it will trigger refresh chart in its turn. So if you notice, there is the button, but nothing really happens because I guess data on the server does not change. But let's suppose you have this thing open for a while and server changes some output, and then you've clicked this. What Chart.js will do, it will animate, pretty nicely and add new data points to the right, and the whole thing will, like smoothly go to the left. So that looks pretty nice. I mean, Chart.js does a really nice job here. Guess that's pretty much all about it. So let me know if you have any questions about how to embed that. Oh, one thing I want to figure out is what am I gonna do with those values that we actually getting from the server. I made a conjecture, and I called that milliseconds, right? So let's say on July 25th, 2015, at 3 a.m. the server was down by 10 seconds, I guess. But I might be wrong. I mean, that's only my guess. If you want to change that to something else, or to process values somehow, let me know. And another thing I wanted to confirm is this manual option. If we have to worry about that, if we have to display it somehow on the chart. If yes, then I guess we can use some a set of colors, maybe, to distinguish whether the downtime was manual or not. But if not, then we're all done, I guess. So yeah, let me know how it goes and if you have any questions. And yep, thanks.